It's Amanda with Always in Love. We are here with another book review for you. Today we are doing Swing by Adriana Locke. So this is the second book in the Landry family series. We actually did a review of the first book as well, so go check that out. But this book is about Lincoln. He is actually a Major League Baseball player, and this book is not quite a sports book. It takes place when he's injured and getting rehabbed, and he doesn't really know what to do with his life because baseball is all he's known. And then he meets this woman who is pretty much the first woman that doesn't really want anything to do with him. He doesn't really know what to do with this, but all he knows is that he likes her. She doesn't take any of his crap, and she gives it right back. And she has this heart. She works with children, and so it's about them and kind of how they don't really mesh with each other because they want different things at first, but it's how they kind of overcome that and become better together. So, tell us a little bit about the second brother, Lincoln.
Well, Lincoln, you kind of get a snippet of him in Sway. He is the youngest of the Barrett boys, and he is the baseball player. So the boys kind of think he's just the jock with no brains, but he's not. Lincoln is very compassionate, he's lovable, and he's sexy. And what drew me instantly in is how he met Danny. He was at the hospital rehabbing his getting rehab after an injury, and he's at the hospital and he's going down the elevator, and the elevator happens to open up on kind of like the children's play area. It's where the kids that have are at the hospital a lot. It's kind of like their getaway of getting out of their hospital beds. They could go do arts and crafts and meet people. Well, a gal was thinking he was pretty sexy as they're waiting in the elevator, and he was just not into it, so he hopped off when he sees Danny or Danielle, and he hops off and starts talking to her. And instantly, I'm jumping here, but it was kind of funny to describe him as how her best friend described him. A sexy man in gray sweats. It's like better than a GQ magazine, according to her friends. And so that's kind of how Lincoln is set up. Like, he's an athlete, but he's in his sweats or he's in workout gear a lot. And Danny tries not to fall for it, but as he chips away at her walls, he is good to the kids that are there. He comes back and actually colors with them, and the kids know who he is. And even one of the doctors kind of figured it out when he said, I don't know who that guy is. And so it's kind of funny because Lincoln is a very famous baseball player. Danny wants nothing to do with baseball because of some stuff from her past. And I don't want to give it away, and I know Amanda doesn't either, because you should read the book to really kind of cool, because you don't really know what she's struggling with, but it makes you love her more because she's really strong-willed. Like, this is why she does this, and she doesn't want to give her whole life away to Lincoln at the beginning, but she kind of works up to that story, and I really appreciate it. And then just the way Lincoln handles everything once he finds out, he's just the way Adriana Locke writes these Landry boys, you instantly fall in love with them because of their character and how well they are written. Don't you agree?
Yeah, it has a lot to do with the southern charm, the southern gentlemanness, like the way that they treat women, they treat people in general. Now they might be man whores or whatever in the back, but once they find somebody they care about, they're like a completely different people. It's the way that she writes is so great because of that. Just the way that these boys are just completely swoon. Like, every thing that they do, yeah, they might have done something jerkish, but they come up with like this swoony moment that make you kind of forgive them right after it. Um, but then you have Danielle, who is this only child. She's kind of not really used to the big family. Her family's kind of standoffish a little bit, and then she gets folded into the Landry family, which are this big group of boisterous, loud, caring people. And she, just the way that it's written, the way that she folds into them, the way that she's kind of tries to hold herself apart but can't really because they're just so welcoming, so nice, so just everything about the Landry family is just welcoming. Like, you want to just go over to their Sunday dinners and hang out with them all day. But then you have, her friends that kind of know a little bit more about her, that kind of play into a little bit more. And it's just the way that she writes the female characters. They're so strong, and they don't want to rely on a man, but in the end they kind of learn that you don't have to rely on them, you just kind of work together. It makes you stronger in the end. So I really enjoy the way that, all of the characters are written, but particularly the female characters. They're so strong-willed and so strong, and they don't really have to be um, those flaky heroines that are all, you know, they come in and the alphas kind of take over their world, and none of the heroines are like that, and that's kind of one of my favorite things about this series.
And I think that's why it drew us both into it. And, and I've read a lot of her books, but then I turn around and then I go buy the audios, because the audio end of it's kind of cool because it's the dual narrative, which is kind of cool when you get both characters talking at the same time. But what I like is Lincoln, he is the compassionate part. What also is kind of cool is that he is so connected with the children, and then he understands. He has wealth, and he doesn't just say, "Oh, I'm wealthy, I don't have to do it." He still works really hard for it, and he puts his money where his mouth's at. And I think Danny was surprised because she grew up with wealth and she was raised by her nannies and everything. And
Yeah.
this family doesn't do that. And I think that's why it kind of like shocked Danny. And then it kind of just allowed her to allow that love. And yes, he may have been alpha, but he kind of, there's some alpha tendencies, but he still let her be the star. And I think when you read damsels in distress, you're kind of like, oh lady, you have more gusto to do that. It's not in this book. Danny has that gusto to tell Lincoln, don't call me Danielle, don't call me that, because it's funny because he instantly started calling her Danny, but that's, she didn't want that, but he just did it. He's just this whole book and the whole series wonderful, and it's probably why Lincoln is one of our top bookshelf
Oh,
boyfriends.
just the way that he's so supportive. Like, he is the big star, but he always made a big deal about what she was doing or tried to help her, but he never wanted to take the credit for it. And that's kind of one of the way that the characters interact and kind of support each other completely. And just everybody, even the family, supports each other. They're all warning them off in the beginning, but then you get to know them and that kind of stuff, and then they're just so welcoming. Just the way that everybody's written, but Lincoln in particular was so he had so many swoony moments. Like, he would call his little sisters and ask them for advice on what to do, and it was just so adorable that he was able to do that. It was really some of my favorite things that he ended up doing. And then when he would go and hang out with these kids and not just bring them memorabilia or ship them over there. He just wanted to go hang out with the kids, and then was actually really upset when they got discharged and weren't there to play with him anymore. So
Well, and I think that's what's kind of cool is like when he called Graham and asked Graham what to do, and they pawned off um, Barrett's soon-to-be stepson Huxley as like a ploy to like, oh yeah, I actually am good with kids, and Huxley's like, dude, I'm older, I don't need a babysitter. But it was just funny how, like you said, he calls his sisters, he calls Graham, and and it's kind of like it's a family dynamic, and I think that's why it's such a great book. And she just all of the books are like this, but Lincoln and Danny just have a story, and there's the sports in it, so it's not too girly. We still got like our sports end of it, and I don't know. I can read it over and over again, which I have. So
yeah, the audio of these is great because, like you said, the duet narration where both when it's a guy's part, the male narrator does it. When it's a female part, the female does it. No matter what chapter, no matter what, it's really cool to listen to. These books are really great to read over and over again because you always find something different, something new each time you go through it. But we are definitely fans of the Landry family. Look forward to Switch, which actually came out in February, and the next one that comes out. Switch is Graham's story, and then we have Swear, which is coming out in May. So look
and
for that for Ford. our
Boring.
soldier boy. Can't wait for that one. But we look forward to reviewing more of these books and reading more of them. So thank you for joining us, and hope you like and subscribe.
Thanks.